The following presentation is controversial and may be offensive to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Radio from the heart of America now.
America is back, standing tall, standing tall.
Ronald Reagan was the one who said that we are a shining city on a hill. We slid down the side of that hill.
I would like to take all the credit for this.
Is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Here is a headline that I promise you, Mr. Gallups, you never thought you would live to see. This is a bona fide headline in Yahoo News. This is right out of Sheriff Joe Arpaio's backyard, by the way. This is going on in Maricopa County, Arizona. And here's the headline. Hold on to your seat there. Okay. Judge rejects divorce for transgender pregnant man. Now, there's a lot going on in that headline, right?
Yeah, a pregnant man. Yeah, well, I know about that story, but you go ahead. Yeah, I do. The man's not really a man. It's a woman that was changed into what she thinks is a man, but her plumbing still works like a woman, and now she's pregnant, but she says she's a man.
You got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just perversion to the max degree. Perversion.
Right, and this severely mutilated man, or rather severely mutilated woman,
who thinks she's a man, which, by the way, is a definition of mental illness, to think you're something that you're absolutely not.
Right. I mean, how in the world is a man giving birth to 4 children?
Right.
And now he wants a divorce.
Right.
And the judge in Sheriff Joe's backyard says, no. You know what? We don't even know what you are anymore.
Right.
So you're not getting a divorce because, you know what, we don't even know what you are anymore.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is one of the headlines that we are looking at on a regular basis now. Yeah. I mean, now the Supreme Court of the United States is hearing cases for homosexual marriage for a state in which the people have spoken, no, we do not want same-sex marriage.
Right.
So these are the dynamics that are going on around the world. We're seeing this, all over Europe. Canada has had same-sex marriage for years now. These are all dynamics that are in play around the world today, and we could not fault the people of faith who are out there saying, man, we are losing this battle.
Yeah.
This battle, we have lost this battle. It's now the bottom of the slippery slope is coming at us at such a force that there is no way to slow this train down.
Well, Mike, you and I are going to do this segment here, this 30-minute segment. We're going to do it in 2 segments. We're going to take a break in a moment. But on this side of the segment, let's just talk about the issue. On the next side, let's come back and give a word of hope to people who are listening, okay? Yeah. All right, but on this side, let's just deal with this. Now, I want to run something by you, Mike, and then I would love to have your input. And Mike, I'll tell you, like I tell the listeners, if you disagree with what I'm getting ready to say, feel free. I mean, don't feel like you have to agree with me just because you're, on the guest today, and just because it's my show and not yours. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I want you to feel free to disagree, because here's what I'm going to say. When I look at the scriptures, and I look at Sodom and Gomorrah, and I read Romans 1, and read about God's judgment on this thing called homosexuality. Listen, homosexuality has been around since ancient of days, and I know that it's not God's ideal, and I know it's not the unforgivable sin either, but it is a particular perversion of marriage and home and family and sexuality and God's heart and mind. So I know it's a particularly grievous sin. But it seems to me that when God's judgment falls on a culture, it's not so much because homosexuality exists, because homosexuality is a part of man's sin nature. It's going to exist. As long as man exists, those kinds of sins will exist. But it seems to me that God brought his judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah and on the world pre-Noah and all of that, not because homosexuality existed, but because culture and society and governments ordained it and gave it prominence. Am I right, or do you see something different?
Yeah, I mean, it was accepted. There wasn't that many righteous in Sodom and Gomorrah, was there? There was Lot, and Lot was referred to as righteous Lot.
Right.
and his wife and family, and that was it. They got out. His wife didn't make it very far. But,
right.
But, Lot got out. His family got out, and they started over, and the rest of the city was taken down in judgment.
Right.
But, the people don't need to wait for God to smite them in order for judgment to happen. I mean, the facts are known. And, this is where the love aspect comes into this. You're not really loving people by condoning this sort of activity because the facts are in. If men would stop having sex with men, AIDS would be delegated only to the history books.
Right. Yeah, and that's what the Center for Disease Control says.
That's right.
Yeah.
And now we have headline after headline of same-sex related diseases. People are setting up hotlines for lesbians to, please don't kill yourself. Lesbians suffer from tremendous depression. They suffer from a 50% hike in cancer rates in the lesbian community because the lesbianism is generally associated with alcoholism and drug abuse.
Yeah.
And obesity, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's an act of love to say, look, if you keep your foot on the throttle and keep heading towards that brick wall is not going to move.
Right.
You are going to die.
Right.
And it's an act of love. My uncle died of AIDS.
Right.
And I was just a young fella. But if somebody would have reached out to him in love and said, listen, pal, if you keep up this, you are going to die a horrible disease where your body will waste away little by little until your immune system is so shot that the smallest little cough and you're a dead man, and that's exactly what happened to him. His body wasted away to nothing, and he died of a relatively harmless bacterial infection that you and I fight, as a matter of course. It killed him.
Right. Right.
So it's an act of love to reach out to these people and say, look, your body is designed a certain way. By ignoring the design template, as in, cars are not designed to slam into brick walls. Your body is not designed to be treated in such a way as it violates the elementary system and the reproduction systems are designed to be separate systems and not interchangeable.
Right.
Stop doing that. You are going to hurt yourself. Right. Well, you're just a hater and a bigot and a homophobe. No, I don't. We want AIDS to be eradicated, and it's a behavioral issue. We want women to have healthy mental capabilities and healthy mental frame of mind, and by getting counseling out of that sort of lifestyle, out of that mindset, this can all be accomplished. But no, we're being called haters and hate mongers and homophobes and every name in the book, just because we know that conservatism works and the same-sex lifestyle does not work.
Yeah. Well, folks, listen, if you want to agree or disagree with Mike, feel free to call up, or again, you can just sit back and listen, but it's 623-1330, area code 850 if you'd like to talk to Mike Shoesmith. Well, Mike, we're going to take a break, but before we do, let me just say that, no, you're dead on so far. I agree with everything you're saying. And again, I firmly believe, I don't think that God is bringing his judgment upon, let's use America for an example, and of course this is going on all over the world, but I don't think he's bringing his judgment on America because there are homosexuals in America. But I think the judgment of God is falling on America in this regard because homosexuality is being uplifted and celebrated and tolerated. By tolerated, what I mean is, celebrated. It's being normalized. Courts are ruling, against the will of the people. Like California. California says, no, we're not going to make homosexual marriage equal to real marriage or homosexual unions, because that's an oxymoron to say homosexual marriage. But we're not going to do it. But now the Supreme Court is considering, and we'll see what happens, but now the Supreme Court could turn it all around. And once a culture condones it and legalizes, I think that's when the judgment of God falls.
And it's all being condoned and normalized by what Ronald Reagan called the shining city on a hill.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan called the United States of America the world's last hope.
Yeah.
And it's all being condoned by the world's last hope.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah, and that's prophetic, by the way. Well, let's take a time out. When we come back,
good news on the other side.
We'll have good news on the other side. That's right. Folks, you're listening to Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, Mallory Bardwell, your world-famous producer. We are going to take a quick time out. When we come back, more with Mike Shoesmith.
Jesus, in his dissertation on divorce, said it is for this reason, that from the beginning, God made them male and female. He's talking about marriage and divorce. And people say, well, you never say anything about homosexuality. Well, Jesus never said anything about bestiality or pedophilia, or Jesus never said anything either about having sex with a lamppost.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
Should he have said all those things? I mean, is your activity conditional upon whether or not Jesus spoke about it?
Right.
Did Jesus never said anything about having sex with a computer screen?
Right.
But Jesus did define what marriage is. It is from the beginning, male and female. But listen, when it comes also to marriage, Jesus in Matthew 24, the last days end time chapter of Matthew, Jesus said, it'll be as it was in the days of Noah. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For as the days of Noah before the flood, people were eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage until the day that Noah went into the ark. Well, that marrying and giving in marriage was all evil. All of that marriage, the kind of marriage going on when Noah entered the ark, was evil marriage. And people might say, well, you're reading an awful lot into that. I mean, how do you know that it was all evil all the time? Well, all we have to do is go back to Genesis 6, where we have the actual account that Jesus is referencing, right?
Right.
This is what it says in Genesis 6, verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that now if I was in a church setting, I would say this word with me, every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil, continually. The marriage the dynamic going on immediately before the flood, before the end of that age, was an evil manifestation of marriage. There was nothing good about it. According to Genesis chapter 6, verse 5, every imagination of the thoughts of the heart of man was only evil, continually. So now we have the manifestation of an evil marriage dynamic, people wanting to marry this person. There was a news article a couple of years ago. A woman wanted to marry her dead husband or her dead boyfriend.
Right.
I mean, marriage has been tossed out, traditional biblical marriage, just as Jesus predicted. And guess what, folks? It's just another reminder that we live in a fallen world and Jesus is coming soon.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here today. And let me just remind you, Mike, first of all, let me say happy Resurrection Day to you. God bless you.